Morning, afternoon, midnight. What?
Yeah, all right.
What?
Thank you. Thank you.
Morning, afternoon, midnight, whatever it is, wherever you are. I welcome to my backyard. This is where the adventure began. There was a blackberry bramble right back there that had the hidden throne of the well, I guess it's not the hidden throne of anybody except Hannah. It was her hideaway back there, but they recently tore that all out to save our forest. So happy, sad, sad, happy. Anyway, today I'm going to read the first chapter of the Gates of Aurona Book 1, Into the Hare Wood. I know that a lot of you are either stressed or just dealing with a lot, and I know that sometimes settling down with a book is hard to focus on, but I thought maybe if we shared the story together, it could be comforting for all of us as a little reader community. So here we go. So The Gates of Aurona Book 1, Into the Hare Wood by Tonya Macalino, illustrations by Maya Lilova. And Chapter 1, An Autumn Storm in Summer. Pickup time at Jackson School Elementary always reminded Hannah Troyer of leaves in an autumn storm. Colorful swirls streaming around each other, the roar of all those leaf bodies swishing past each other, straining to reach each other, getting swept away from each other. And if you didn't watch out, one would smack you right in the face. Oh my gosh, Hannah! Hannah blinked up from her new position flat on the sidewalk. Wonderful. The rocks from the concrete stung her palms as she carefully pulled her hands from the ground. Clark Talwar, her neighbor, reached down to help her up. Even wonderfuler. She tried to beat him to it, but her backpack had her tangled, and she only ended up looking like a turtle flipped on its back, with its legs swinging uselessly in the air. With a defeated sigh, she let Clark pull her to her feet. Clark's big sister Diana brushed the rocks from her pack. Thanks, she mumbled, turning quickly away. Clark and Diana's mom, Apsara, hugged her giant gold purse to her chest like it was a wild cat, threatening to attack again at any second. Her eyes were huge. Oh, Hannah, I'm so sorry. Are you all right? Hannah rubbed her cheek and the side of her eye where Apsara had smacked her with the purse. That was when she spotted her mom, Bridget, just beyond the fake gold leather. Maybe she should have asked Apsara to hold her mom back, too. Too late. Hannah Banna, holy frog ferns, are you okay? Let me see your eye. Hannah just used the offended eye to glare at her. I'm fine. Her mom started to pry her hand off the stinging mark. Hannah twisted away, joining the stream of leaf bodies flowing toward the big oak. She'd just seen her big brother Cameron shoot past her in the middle of a wild game of Harry Potter tag. Cam and his buddies could quote every spell in the series. They slammed into each other, shouting spells and counter spells. Hannah kept well out of slamming range and waited for her mom to catch up. In pairs and clusters, Hannah watched her classmates drift through the gates back to the playground. One last after-school play date. One last goodbye to third grade. Next year would be the last year she and Cam would be in Jackson together. The last year they would be in any school together until she was a freshman in high school. In high school! Hannah's table mates, Rebecca and Asia, whispered and giggled as they disappeared around the corner toward the playground. Liar, liar, pants on fire, Hannah thought after the two biggest gossips in her class. She wrinkled her nose but couldn't stop herself from gazing longingly around the corner where they'd disappeared. Finally, her mom managed to pull herself away from the crowd of parents saying their goodbyes at the door. Mom, can we go to the playground? Hannah asked. Cam jogged up, breathless from his spellcasting. Yeah, Mom, can we go? Mom shook her cell phone at them. I got a job. We gotta get home. But it's the last day of school, please, Cam pleaded. Hannah didn't bother. She knew those 4 words, I got a job, were the deal closer. And besides, not one of those backpacks bobbing past on the way to the gate had paused to invite her. Not like Cam's entire Quidditch team, which slouched in disappointment as he turned to follow their mom down the path toward home. Hannah trailed along behind. The sky glowed neon blue above them. Their mom steered them toward the shady path, while most of the other kids, including Clark and Diana, went with Apsara and her giant golden purse down the main green space. Hannah sighed again and with a wave, turned away. The first to greet them along the sidewalk was Snowy, a little lady of the cat, who welcomed Hannah with a headbutt. This was a ritual not even I got a job could interrupt. The whole family, the whole neighborhood, knew Hannah was cat crazy, and dog crazy, and squirrel crazy, and bird crazy, and once she'd even found a baby mole. It was safe to say she was animal crazy. Except for snakes and spiders, she was not crazy about snakes and spiders. Cam stopped to scratch Snowy on the chin. He was pretty much as cat crazy as Hannah was. It's going to be a lonely summer without Nicola, Cam said quietly. Yeah, Hannah agreed. Their own cat had died just 3 weeks ago. It made their house kind of quiet, kind of empty, without her sleek shadow following them everywhere. We'll visit you, Snowy, I promise, she whispered as the lady cat rubbed high against her leg. Hannah gave Snowy one last scratch under the chin, soaking up all the love she could, and then ran to catch up with their mother. Mom had stopped at the head of the street. She stared down the hill with a funny look on her face. Hannah and Cameron grabbed the hands she offered and swung to a stop. Cats. More cats than she ever knew lived in the neighborhood. And she thought she knew them all. At the bottom of each driveway for 2 blocks, maybe even 3, a cat sat at attention, ears trained forward toward the road. How weird! Hannah gripped her mom's hand a little tighter, and her mom squeezed back. They're all here, Han. There's Furry, there's Peanut, there's Pickles. There's those 2 cats that chase each other across the roof every morning, Cam murmured. Hannah nodded. Yeah, there's Pretty Kitty, there's Shadow, there's Peter Pan, and there's Maury. What's she doing so far from home? It looks to me like you 2 have your own honor guard for the last day of school, Mom said, still not moving forward. This was better than a play date any day. Hannah and Cam dragged their mom down to the first driveway. They gave Furry a good scratch behind his big black ears and picked a few dead leaves out of his thick coat. He began to purr, but he didn't move. Mom didn't let go of their hands. They moved on to Peanut, an old gentleman cat with an orange striped coat. Even after Hannah gave him his favorite chin rub, he didn't flop down and roll onto his back. He just stared forward and purred loudly. Hannah looked up at her mom. Her mom looked down and shook her head. I have no idea. The cats remained purring guardians like that all the way down to the main road. The school crowd had long disappeared by the time they got to the end. Together, they turned back to look up the road. Their honor guard was gone. Where'd they go? Hannah asked, her skin prickling strangely. Super weird, Cam agreed. Snowy stepped out from behind the corner hedge and gave them a loud "Crow!" The prickling worry faded from Hannah's neck and arms. All 3 of them shifted and twisted as the white cat wound between their legs. Snowy crossed the street and called to them with another loud "Crow!" from the opposite corner. Okay, what are you up to, little girl? Mom asked the cat. Now she was the one pulling Hannah and Cameron forward. Hannah knew her mom's reporter brain was on hyperdrive, which was okay, because this time Hannah was pretty curious too. What could make all the kitties in the neighborhood act like guards at the royal palace all at the same time? One of the things she loved about cats was their graceful play. This was so not right. Mom released their hands on either side of the road, and they all jogged to catch up with the sleek white cat as she trotted up the path. Hannah wished so desperately that she could dump her backpack. Filled with goodbye projects and presents, it slammed against her back every step. Soon, parts of her back started going numb. But Snowy didn't go far. She stopped just in front of the old schoolhouse, the office for the neighborhood association. Hannah had always thought the old building was cool, with its school bell and the big porch hanging down with flowers, and the hitching post out front. Now, if only the hitching post had horses actually hitched to it. What, need a cat to remind you to pay the dues? Cam joked to their mother. Very funny. This is just too weird, Mama said as she dug into her tiny purse. I actually do need to stop here. She finally got hold of the phone and scrolled quickly through it. Yes, the Jackson schoolhouse. That's so weird. Mom bent down and gave Snowy a thank you stroke down the back, wandering distractedly forward, staring at her phone. Mom pushed the doorbell. In reply, the door buzzed and unlocked with a pop. Mom held the door for them, and they went in. Hannah followed Cam past an antique bookcase and through a doorway that framed a second stained glass window to a single room about twice the size of their living room. She'd only been in the schoolhouse a couple times, but she'd always found the old wood comforting, like it held memories of the kids from the old days with their big skirted dresses and their trousers with wide suspenders and their bonnets and their hats. Those were cool. Imagine if all the kids in the neighborhood, all the way up through high school, fit in this one room. Over there in the corner would be the wood stove, and up there would be the one teacher you all shared. All the way through high school? Hannah asked. Now that kind of sounded scary, being in with the big kids. Well, maybe not quite that old. People didn't stay in school long those days. They had to work to help support their families. There was even a special school break in the fall so that everybody could help with the harvest. All this land was farmland back then. So the bell had to be super loud so they could hear it across all the fields? Cam asked. I guess so, their mom said with a laugh. Hannah ran her hand over the dark wood of the door frame. Cam and me would have been in the same class here? Well, not here, but over by North Plains. Why not here? Hannah asked. Well, as far as I can tell, this is just a building done up to look like a pioneer schoolhouse. Have you come over here? Mom led them back down the hallway where there were 3 old-timey pictures hanging on the wall. This is a picture of the Laceyville School that looks very similar to this building, but the first Jackson School probably looked a lot more like one of these. She pointed to a set of pictures of short, stumpy log cabin schools. It was torn down almost 100 years ago. I'm not sure if they kept anything. A little spark of anger settled in Hannah's chest. It only got bigger as she followed her mother around, as she took pictures of this and that and asked the office lady a few of her reporter questions. Snowy still waited for them when they emerged from the fake school. They squatted around her and said hello. Clouds had darkened the neon sky. Hannah glanced up at them, scowling. What's the matter, Hannah-Banna? Mom asked. It's fake. And they tore the real one up. Ah. Hannah could tell that her mother was itching to get back to work, but something made her change her mind. She sat down on the porch, and Hannah and her brother perched on either side of her. They all watched the storm clouds drift toward the Hare Wood with dramatic billows and swirls. Are you afraid people will forget, Han? Well, they smashed it up. How can people remember? Yeah, what about all the kids that went to school there? That was their memories from when they were kids, Cam agreed. Exactly, Hannah said. I always felt cozy there because of their memories, and now I know it wasn't even real. Their mom nodded and was quiet for a while. Finally, she looked up. Maybe you can think of it like this. You know about old stories, stories like King Arthur? You know how they change over years and years? Every generation has different problems, different reasons they need those stories. So they change to make them fit what they need them to do. Well, this new Jackson schoolhouse, she stood up and walked with them down to the sidewalk so they could turn around and look at the building. This new Jackson schoolhouse is the story our generation needed. But in it is the memory of all those pioneer schoolhouses that were real, that helped build our community and gave our children a chance to grow their minds and their friendships. When you look up at the bell, you remember those kids chatting as they hurried up the steps to whichever schoolhouse was theirs. When you look at the hitching posts, you remember how far they had to come just for the privilege of learning. Old stories, powerful stories, have a way of leaving memories behind in newer stories. They remind us that where we came from was also a part of where we are. So in a way, what you felt was real. It was just even bigger than you thought. A huge gust of wind whipped around them, pulling strands from our mother's heavy red braids and sending Hannah's short black curls flying. Shadows fell over the schoolhouse, taking away its bright newness, and suddenly Hannah could see exactly what her mother meant. The old memories in the new stories. Hannah and Cam exchanged a look. The schoolhouse was kind of magical, if she thought about it that way. She smiled at her brother, knowing he was thinking the same thing. Then Snowy, the last of their guards, began jumping at their calves and driving them toward home. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. And if the weather cooperates and my voice cooperates, we'll be back again later in a couple days to read chapter 2 together. Take care and be well and be safe. And I'm thinking about you all. Bye-bye.